ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, angels and demons and monsters and serpents. This is Brothers of the Serpent podcast, coming to you live for the first time in a while from the 10x10x10 tangent cube of science, where we are nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Everest Plateau. Hopefully everything is working. Woo! Hey, chat. Snakes! By the way, you know, it's been like, what, we've published, I don't even know, 350 something episodes. Should we be introducing ourselves at the beginnings of the...
I'm Kyle.
I'm Russ. Just in case.
Still feels like the first time.
You guys didn't know. I am Russ Allen. This is my brother Kyle Allen. Yeah, stuff has been crazy here. We have a whole lot of stuff to talk about, but of course, I wanted to say thank you to all of you who like reached out to us, ask with emails and over X and in the Discord asking if we were okay because of the insane flooding that has been happening here recently. I think we're going to talk about that first because, you know, this kind of catastrophic flooding has been of interest to us for a long time, and obviously we did 6 years of cosmography with Randall talking about floods, and then like this one happened next to us that is, I think I saw some people saying it might be 1,000-year, not 100-year flood.
Yeah.
Right. So this kind of event is really rare in a human lifetime, but not rare in a geological time span. But you can easily see how the energy of these kinds of events affects the entire landscape, and then it's going to stay that way until the next event with that level of energy happens again. You know, so there's a lot of interesting stuff. Kyle's got some stuff pulled up, and we also have our good friend Dozer Dan.
Oh, Dozer Dan is going to be joining us.
You guys have heard plenty of his bass playing on plenty of music we play on the podcast, and he's actually joining us now live.
Man on the ground
because he got trapped by the floods. What's up,
Yes,
buddy?
Welcome to the show, Daniel. Finally, after all these years.
Years and years, and here I am.
Yeah.
Here I are.
They can all see who I am now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so Russ and I, by the way, people, we live in the next town over from Kerrville, where a big portion of this hit, and then the next town beyond that is Hunt or Ingram, and then Hunt. All these towns that got it really bad. Over here where we are, it wasn't obvious at all that anything major had happened. We were planning to do a 4th of July event for the winery. We were going to be pouring wine down at the park right there by the river. And I just got a text in the morning. It was like, the river's flooded.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess we're not doing that. So we stayed home. I think our crossings, we've been diverted from our normal road because they're replacing the bridge. So we have to go over these little low water crossings, which were flooded at the time. So we all stayed home. But Daniel went out riding. So that's what I wanted to hear about.
So yeah, I guess we can just kind of do my recap of the 4th of July morning. I woke up at like 6 o'clock Friday morning, had the day off, and I knew it had been raining, but I mean, even where I'm at, which is Center Point, which is a town that's right below Kerrville, just south of the destruction is here too, but I'm off the beaten path a little ways. But I left my house here at probably 7 o'clock, a little bit before 7 o'clock, and I have to drive across the Guadalupe River to get in Kerrville, and I drove across the Center Point Bridge. And when I drove across, it was probably 7:15 that morning, and I honestly, when I drove across the bridge, I couldn't believe how high the river was. And at that point, it had not crested yet. And it was about, I would say, maybe 10 foot below the top of the bridge. And I drove across, got into Center Point, and then drove into Kerrville, and then crossed basically every bridge in Kerrville just, and all looking at the river. And it, you know, I've seen many floods. I've lived in the hill country pretty much my whole life, and what I saw that morning, um, it's I'm still trying to take it all in. And honestly, it took me days to process everything that I saw through the weekend. But like I said, I got into Kerrville, and at this point, it's probably, I mean, from my house to Kerrville, it takes me about 20 minutes to get there. So the river's still rising at this point, and I'm driving around looking at everything, and it was, I'm sure everybody has seen on the news what it looked like, but in person, the amount of water there was just ungodly. Really, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And I went through the 2002 flood. Our house got flooded in 2002, so I've been through this kind of stuff. But what I saw that morning was just there's really no words for it. And I mean, even at that point, I don't think anybody really realized. Like we knew it was bad, but you know, it it didn't sink in, and not, it has now because the waters have receded, and we see how many people have perished in this flood. But um, it was just complete chaos and destruction, and it's
Nothing you can do about it.
honestly,
Yeah.
it's no. And the thing is, like you were saying, the 4th of July, and everybody's on the
That's
river,
the problem.
and
It
like
was
that
like,
was our plan.
yeah, it's like the perfect bad situation because it hit in the middle of the night. So there were warnings. People got alerts on their phones for flash flooding, but
But we get those alerts all the time.
because there are a lot of flash floods.
Yeah, so you'll get a flash flood alert every time there's a bad thunderstorm, and most of the time we think, oh, that means maybe when I'm going to the low water crossing on some
I won't be able to.
backcountry road, I might not be able to cross. It doesn't mean get hundreds of feet away from the main river, because if you don't, it'll kill you. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, the warnings came in the middle of the night.
Right.
Everybody's on the river, all up and down the hill country for 4th of July weekend. And then people just woke up in a nightmare situation. So tell me, you came back, like I know you were stuck in Kerrville all day on the 4th, but you came back over the weekend and went up to Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That whole road is closed right
wasn't-
now, people. Like
I
this
said-
whole highway that goes all the way through Ingram and Hunt, they've closed it down. We haven't really seen a whole lot of the aftermath because they're asking people to kind of like stay away, basically, because all of the rescue and everybody's out there, and people are driving in to look because they want to see how bad it is, and it's just they need those roads clear. So that's all shut down now. But you saw it when, Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, Saturday.
I saw.
Yeah, so I was basically trapped in Kerrville all Friday, and then made it home about 6 o'clock Friday night. And then, of course, I'm just watching every video, everything going on the whole time. And I get up Saturday morning and, decide to go back, like, just to see what the river was doing, and, see the destruction after the waters had gone down. And I don't know, it was probably midday Saturday. Me and the boys drove up there, and normally, where the water comes down river is where you see a lot of destruction, and there is a lot of destruction from Kerrville down into Center Point and Comfort. I mean, basically all the way to Canyon Lake where this water ends up.
Yeah.
It's just it's completely destroyed. But I drove, so it's Kerrville, Ingram, Hunt. is how it goes, and that's going upriver.
Upriver towards the headwaters.
And I would say that Hunt is probably, I would say, roughly 8 miles south of the headwaters. And anyways, we drive into Ingram, and there's just everything's destroyed in Ingram also, but there's a pretty good sized dam in Ingram, and then there's kind of like a lake right there, and then up above that's where it's more of like riverbed, and that's Highway 39, and from basically the start of where the river starts all the way from Ingram up into Hunt. I was completely blown away by the devastation that I saw there. You're driving right up against the river all the way up there, and it's nothing but big cypress trees. It's just beautiful up there when it's not the way it is now. And the entire drive from Ingram up to Hunt, and it's probably, I don't know, maybe 5 miles, 6 miles up in there or something. I mean, it is just complete destruction, 200-year-old cypress trees with 40-foot bases, root ball bases that are just
Yeah.
laid over. All the bark ripped off the cypress trees, and campers and cars and just debris piles that are, 30 foot tall. And it is the entire spread from Ingram up into Hunt and up above Hunt. It is like that. And it's probably, obviously it gets wider in places, but it's several hundred yards wide, the entire drive up there, that is just completely littered with debris. And I mean, you're driving in on the right side going up to Hunt, and you're driving up there and you're looking at all the stuff in the trees, and you're looking 15, 20 foot above your head, where you can see where the water level was. And there's stuff in trees, and there's, like I said, there's campers that are just wrapped around these cypress trees, and there's cars and four-wheelers and kayaks and floaties and tubes and just everything just wrapped around all these cypress trees. And then we get up in there and the Hunt, where Hunt store is, and I think it's a 2-story building, and I think it was up to the second story there. And this is one thing that, like, yeah, I mean, when I got into Hunt and looked at all that, I recently drove the back way, basically from Lakey, which is on the west side of Hunt, up onto, I think it's 87 or whatever it is, up to where 39 starts. And basically you come out of the hills and you come up, and there's a plateau, and it plateaus and it's all flat. And then where 39 starts, probably, I would say maybe 3 or 4 miles where 39 starts, it starts dropping down. And it drops down, and a couple miles down in there, that's where the South Fork starts. And like I said, I drove this probably 3 weeks ago and looked at everything. And, the significance of this is that's where the divide is. And it's a hill range that runs, if it rains on the South Fork side, it goes to the Guadalupe, and if it rains on the other side, it goes to the North Prong and Medina River, which would end up where we're from, Bandera on the Medina River. But driving through all that up in there, looking at how much water was up there where the headwaters is, you don't see that.
Yeah, normally
I've been
it builds
through
up
several
as it comes
floods.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we're going to get into that, the nature of this particular flood and the geography and everything of how that happened. But yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, you're a dozer operator. We've talked about this many times, and I'm just,
Yes.
I'm telling you, folks, like hearing from Daniel being blown away by the size of these debris piles. This guy is a person who makes massive debris piles for a business. And
Yes,
yeah, wrapping trees up, and
I
you know,
do.
like seeing the size of these cypress trees, just with stuff just wrapped up in the size of these root balls. It's like, yeah,
And that's one thing. I mean, how many floods have we witnessed in Bandera? And I mean, I've never seen cypress trees ripped
Yeah,
out of the
yeah.
ground
it
like
doesn't
that.
pull them out.
We saw. I mean,
I've never seen.
there's a few, some of the smaller ones,
Yeah,
but
every once in a
Yeah.
while you'll see one,
those big giant ones typically they hold
Yeah.
up.
and they're right on the river, and the
Yeah.
water rises up.
The
And
Yeah.
water shreds all the bark, and you
Yeah.
can see the water level, because when we would tube the river, like after
Yeah.
the 2002
you could
floods,
see where the flood was.
you could see it for years afterwards because of the ring at the
Yeah.
where the bark healed up from being shredded.
Yeah,
Right.
but it doesn't pull them down, and so to see like tons of those
Right.
ancient trees just
It's
flattened.
It looks like we talked
Yeah.
about the Tunguska event or whatever that
That's
flattened.
what I thought too. I thought of Tunguska.
You go up to these bridges now, and it's just every tree is just laid down and stripped.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. So I also, yes, I mean, people are mentioning it in the chats, like one of the most heart-wrenching things is this, this camp with these girls, Camp Mystic, and that is
Yeah.
it's terrifying. A really good friend of ours, we're friends with her and her daughter. Well, the grandchild, or the daughter's daughter, basically, was at Camp Mystic through this thing. So we were hearing about this in the morning on July 4th, and thank God she survived. But at that time, we didn't really know how serious this was. We were just getting these text updates and like, okay, they got confirmation that she was accounted for. And at that time, it was like some girls are missing.
Yeah.
But now the number is far too high.
Yeah.
And there's, by the end of this, it's
Yeah.
probably going to be hundreds of people dead.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we've never witnessed
Yeah,
anything like
I,
that. I mean, I know in the flood of 2002, I think it was
Yeah.
just a handful of people,
Yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 or something, even not very many.
Right. Yeah.
And that was a big flood. And then
Yeah.
78.
Yeah, 78 as well. It's
Yeah.
just, so this one, being on a holiday weekend, which is in the heat of the summer, everyone's down at the river. It was,
People were prepping for 4th of July. I mean, yeah, there were campers. There was.
I don't think people, like, I don't know if the listeners really realize, but from Comfort all the way to Hunt, which I'm going to say is probably a 30-mile run, there was basically campers from there all the way to Hunt, and hundreds and hundreds of campers along that river, and gone.
Yeah.
Like,
It also
places
came in the
where there
middle of the
was
night.
where there was 50 campers set up and just completely washed away.
Yeah.
And all that really started. So like the river was up at 2:30. Like it was basically a flash flood at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. But the point where it started getting really bad was about 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the morning up there in Hunt.
Yeah.
That's when it got serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things we learned about, I saw people saying, how is this possible when you would see these surges of water coming down the river, like a dam broke? Well, yes, that happens because, like we learned with Randall in dealing with these big floods, when the debris starts to crowd up in a narrow neck of the river,
Yeah.
it actually creates almost like a moving dam where the water behind this pile of debris that's slowing everything down gets sort of jammed up. The river gets higher over here, and eventually it breaks, even though the whole thing can still be sort of moving
It's
through
moving, yeah, but
through
then
a narrows.
It tears through it, and then that
It
wall.
finally tears through when
Yeah.
when the river opens back up, and then a wall of water comes. And I'm pretty sure that happened multiple times. It's just, It's insane.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
just so that everybody, I know, because I was getting a lot of texts from people. This is a very localized disaster, right? It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a hurricane or something that's just widespread devastation. So most of the people that live in the city of Kerrville or in the town, I mean, most
Yeah,
people
we're-
are unaffected.
Yeah. We were completely unaffected. I mean,
Right.
Yeah. Now the thing that hit us the worst was what, 3 weeks before that or
Yeah.
something?
And that was very local.
We had this extremely local storm that came over the vineyard, and I would say that storm was very close to killing some people
Yeah.
because we had a camp
Yes.
near a little tributary creek, and that creek had an S bend in it, and this flood came down this tiny little dry creek bed that doesn't even have running water in it, and it was tearing away the wall headed towards those campers at the vineyard.
Yeah. And the giant tree that fell on the house of the neighbors,
Our neighbors had
like crushed part of his
a
house.
house from 1910. A massive elm tree fell on it, and I was over there like 2 weekends in a row with a Skytrack and a guy on a chainsaw,
Which is a giant forklift. Yeah.
and lifting him up there, and he was cutting the limbs down. And I mean, this tree was freaking enormous. But yeah, it could have easily. Both of these trees fell and crushed 2 houses.
Yeah.
And then that huge arena. They're building this massive arena, structural steel building. The entire thing collapsed on all the stands and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what in the world just happened here?
Right.
But nobody else was even affected. Like, it was so local. You could see, like, when you're driving, there's all these ponds and stuff on the sides of the road that people have. None of them had brown water.
Right.
And then right when you get up to the vineyard area, like, suddenly you see the flood destruction and all these trees and everything jammed up into fences.
Yeah,
And
it
then
was like
the river path.
it was like basically right there at Gravity Check, you know, right before you get to Turtle Creek, all the way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because you know that's when we were working out there for y'all, and we were supposed to be hauling equipment out because we were done with the job, you know, and
Yeah.
I had watched the storm, so I was up early and I drive over there, and you know, the first crossing, it's like, oh, it flooded.
He
And I
calls
drive
me,
across
he's
the
like,
next one. I was
bro.
like,
Daniel calls me, he's just like,
Yeah.
everything is destroyed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This- Nothing happened. I saw a bunch of lightning. But yeah, we sure enough, everything was destroyed. We basically had to rebuild a bunch of roads, hundreds of feet of fence line that I mean, it's not even in a river, but the sheet flood went across the field. It bent down vineyard rows. So that hit us hard.
Yeah.
But this
hail
one-
shredded everything.
Oh, the hail broke-
destroyed a whole bunch of stuff. And then
So-
the water, yeah. So that was extremely localized.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we get into some of the
Yeah.
geology and geography of this
Yeah,
situation?
we can show it. Yeah. The other thing I'll say is we all got warnings. There were warnings the day before of like extreme thunderstorms, and then there were warnings. The problem is of course they're coming over your phone and it's in the middle of the night, so if you're sleeping and you have it silenced, you don't see it, but the warnings come in and say flash flood, and I think those were issued 2 or 3 hours before the flash floods hit.
There was a warning
do
also
wanna-
that 12 hours before that was like flooding may occur.
Flooding may
you know?
occur, yeah. And
There's going to be heavy rains.
Yes, heavy rain, extreme thunderstorms, flooding may occur. And then there was a
I will
flash flood
say
warning.
this, like halfway in between Ingram and Hunt, and then like up above Hunt, there is. I mean, I have AT&T as a provider for service, but like the service isn't that great right there. I mean, I will say that,
Yeah.
but you know,
So I've been talking to my dad about this, and he's like, look, they need sirens along that river.
Yeah.
And he said that I think the city of Kerrville even looked into the siren system a while back, and it was like too expensive.
it was like
But apparently the state of
2017.
Texas is gonna help build the siren system on these riverbeds, because this whole place, like the entire hill country, is known for these flash floods.
there was a petition deal that I saw earlier on the internet, and there was already like 30,000 people that signed it. for that siren system.
That's what it needs. And you know,
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that I heard about was like you were saying, like we get these notifications all the time. It's like over warning or
Yeah.
whatever you call
We
it.
get warned all the time, and so you're just like, whatever.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
okay, flash
Yeah.
flood.
Big deal.
So it's difficult to, you know, in the position of the person doing the warning, it's like they can't perfectly predict how much rainfall is going to happen in any one particular basin. And so then they send out warnings, but it's like if they do it too much, people don't care. If you don't do it enough, you get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
So like with a siren system, sorry, if you're camping and there's no flood and the sirens are going off, you just have to sit and listen to the sirens.
Yeah.
That's a good question from Jonathan. He says, is 3 hours enough time to make a difference? It's usually not when hurricanes are coming.
3 hours is plenty of time.
Plenty of
because
time.
look, we're talking
You're
about
not
a
evacuating
small...
entire city. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you're a lot of times you can get out of this floodplain in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
You know, if there's no water in your way.
Yeah. But if like all it takes is one road getting blocked by a dangerous like torrential flood going across it, and then you're stuck. That can happen. And then if the river behind you is rising and you can't get out because there's this, remember we got stuck out at Booker's property.
Yeah, we got stuck there during a flash flood.
Yeah, and it's right on a river, and that thing kept rising, and it's like the whole place is rumbling.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
It was terrifying. But there's high ground. You know, if you can get to high ground, you're going to be okay. Like it's the hill country. There's high ground everywhere.
So one of the problems with the evacuation situation, not in this particular flood, but I think in the flood of '87, they evacuated everyone, and a bunch of people died in the evacuation process because they had to go through some low water crossings to try to get out, and people were panicking and cars were getting stuck,
and then pushed.
And then it ends up that the campgrounds in these areas actually were safe, and they were like, wow, it would have been safer if we had not evacuated.
Yeah.
Because the evacuation caused like basically a traffic jam, and then the flood was coming.
Yeah.
So it's not a simple situation to solve. And yeah, it's just extremely unfortunate. And
I do ought to say, for people who worry about us, like I really appreciate it. All of the messages I got, but we are totally safe where we are.
Yeah. We're way up on a hill.
We are way up high, you know. We're not anywhere near anything that's, I mean, it would have to be hundreds of feet above. I mean, you know, we're the last ones that are going to be affected if we don't move from our houses. Now, if one of us is in town or fishing or whatever, you know, then or camping, you're going to be a problem. But if we're home, no flood is going to affect us.
And if it does, it's going to affect everybody.
Yeah. Everyone. It's like, there's
everyone
no
in
getting away.
Texas.
If it affects us, there's no getting away from it. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk. I want to show you guys some of the
other thing I was going to say that I saw when I was, while Kyle's pulling this up, when I was driving through town today, I saw all the emergency services staging areas.
Yes.
And there are people from all over the country. And that just like, dude, you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Like it hits my heart, dude.
That's the other thing. The locals are coming out. Everybody's trying to help. And really people are being turned down. There's like 500 volunteers and they're just like, stay out of our way.
Yeah. Right.
Because there's actually a lot of professional first responders and emergency people here, and they're basically asking people like, just
please,
stay out of the way. And we were kind of the same, because it's like we have a lot of machines at work. If anybody needs skid steer with grapple bucket, like, you know, so there are some people, maybe we might go out this weekend and take a couple of machines out to some people's houses. I just put the word out, so we'll see. But pretty much everybody that I know and I've checked on is fine.
Yeah.
But I know people who know people that are definitely not fine. And that's, so yeah, it affects you in that way for sure. Okay. So let's see. We'll start with this. Am I sharing this now? Wait. We'll start with this. So this is a diagram. This is mostly focused on the aquifer situation. But this is a great illustration. This is the Edwards Plateau, and then you have your coastal plain down here. And this is the hill country where we live. And this whole thing. So I think what Daniel, what you were describing before is that you went up, you kind of get up to this top and it's flat. This is like sort of the
Right.
top of the Edwards Plateau. And you can see this in numerous places around here. Like if you go way back, like past Lakey, past Garner State Park, way up that highway, you'll get up onto the flat. And you can tell that all of this hill country has actually been carved out. Russ and I have talked about this place, Old Baldy, at Garner State Park, where an entire hill is literally cut in half. And we've always discussed, like, this entire place is carved by major floods. Like that is what has made the hills of the hill country. So this is the hill country. It's all sloping down towards this coastal plain. So any water that lands here obviously quickly runs off the hills into these tight, narrow valleys and makes its way down, back down to the coastal plain. The other thing that's happening is the rain that's being driven here is coming off of the Gulf Coast. And this is a great diagram to show this. So right here, you can see this is sort of an exaggerated elevation map of the state of Texas. So you've got your coastal plain down here, and this is the Balcones escarpment. This is a fault line right here. And it essentially, the moisture coming from the Gulf Coast gets pushed up high in elevation right here and condensates and then rains down on this elevated Edwards Plateau and then drains all the way back down here, carving out all of these hills of the hill country back into the coastal plain. And so that's essentially what made the hill country itself, and that's why the place is prone to these flash floods. It's exactly what made the hills, is why it's a flash flood zone. And it's also limestone bedrock with not a whole lot of soil. We've got a lot of clay and everything, which once the clay absorbs so much water, it's done. Like water's just going to sit on top of it. And we've had a lot of rain in the past few weeks.
Yeah, we've had an amazing amount of rainfall for a summer here, which is good for, crops and farmers and stuff. But it's bad when you get a large amount of rain on top of that because there's no more absorption.
Yeah. So here is the map of the river basin. So this right here is the Guadalupe River Basin. There's Kerr County, where all this started. We're in Bandera County down here. So yeah, that basin basically starts right up here in Kerr County and runs all the way down. Here's another map with this. It doesn't have the counties on it, but you can see the Guadalupe River in there.
Yeah, we're in the Medina River.
Yeah,
area.
so this is the Medina River where we normally get flooded.
Doxing ourselves here.
There's old San Antonio. But these are the two forks of the river. So what happened was this depression came and basically it slowed down and it sat
right there.
Right on top of this area right here and just dumped tons and tons of rain. I can't remember. I think so. I heard somebody measured 20 inches.
Yeah, they're saying between 15 and 20.
That is insane.
That's
and so
enormous in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, and so you got all these steep hills, all this, and so everything from this line all the way around is actually running right towards these two tributaries, and Camp Mystic is right here.
Oh, right at the fork.
Right at the fork of these two tributaries, and it just, they came down both of these forks, and this, I think, Daniel, you're talking about this going back up into Hunt, right? This is the South Fork? Or is Hunt in the...
Yeah, that's gonna...
I don't know which fork
trying to see.
Hunt is at. Anyways. So that's the point, is this is just what this topography does. Like everything is very steep sloped. So the hills are all limestone bedrock and they don't soak up moisture. They only soak up so much and then it's just all runoff. We've even talked about, we were part of a We were just contractors cutting down cedar trees, but we were part of this failed scientific study by the state of Texas at Government Canyon State Natural Area.
Yeah.
They collected flash flooding and rainfall data and everything from a box canyon at Government Canyon State Natural Area for 10 years. And then we were to come in and clear all of the cedar out of that entire box canyon catch basin.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were going to restore all the native grasses and then collect rainwater and flooding data for 10 years to see how much does the clearing of this invasive species, the cedar, the ash
cedar
juniper,
suppresses the grasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and when those cedars, they drop all these cedar needles on the ground, it suppresses the grasses, and then you just get way more runoff. And the grasses hold topsoil and help absorb rainfall. Well, the environmentalists completely ruined the study because of the golden-cheeked warbler.
That's right, the golden-cheeked warbler.
The golden-cheeked warbler makes its nest out of what they told us was they make their nests only out of the cedar bark fibers from old-growth cedar trees. So we were not. So they sent a team in and they went through the whole Box Canyon area and they were like, "Oh, we found a nest here. We found a nest there. We found a nest here." So you can't clear those cedar trees. Oh, and by the way, we're going to put a 50-foot buffer around the area that we found the nest. And so basically, we were clearing in these little,
leaving islands of trees,
little winding little pathways between these gigantic islands of trees where they were like, "There's a bird in there."
A nest of a bird.
So we did all that work.
Yeah, there's
and I remember sitting in the meeting at the end of it, and the scientist or the guy that was leading the whole thing, it was just like, "This is a waste of freaking job." So we don't have any data, folks, on whether or not clearing the cedar trees and restoring native grasses.
I know.
will
How
help with the
often does
flash
that
floods.
happen? You got to save the black-faced, fluttered-cheeked, whatever, the purple-spotted
I'm
gnat.
like, the bird can fly to the next Box Canyon. Anyways.
Their claim was that it only makes it from the old growth, and once you cut the old growth,
The bird goes
the
back
bird
to Mexico.
never comes back.
It goes back to
dies.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like anyway, it's a lack of adaptation. It's not our problem.
So, yeah. So
Clear the cedars.
So Daniel says, I'm gonna throw you under the bus here. He says they were cloud seeding like 2 days before, and they
I
admitted
have
it.
seen this story, and they're like, I had nothing to do with that.
They admitted it 2 days before they were cloud seeding.
They did cloud seeding. It formed some vapor, and then it dissipated. And then the storms came a couple of days later, and they're like, well, that had nothing to do with what we tried to do, because what we tried to do failed. That's what they're saying. I've seen this story. It's very. I was going to bring it up. I don't want to give out any disinfo, but it is interesting that it's possible that they
2 days before.
Yeah. They're claiming that it formed some puffs of vapor, their attempt at cloud seeding, but they dissipated and nothing happened.
But here's the
this
thing.
Is like the glyphosate thing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to become
Here's the thing.
non-viable after a certain amount of time. Sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
It's a new style of cloud seeding. I'm sure you know that.
It's a new form created by the evil genius, Peter Thiel.
That's who's funding it.
Ah,
Yeah.
shit.
So this is interesting. I was like, Daniel brought this up on the phone. I was like, oh, come on. But then he starts telling me more. I was like, shit, I'm going to have to bring that up.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look at it. I didn't have time to look it up, but.
I've been reading the story for
Of course you have.
Yeah.
So my immediate scripter was
Let's
that
hear
like,
it.
we got stuck in New York because of storms all the way up and down the East Coast, all the way down, all the way into Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, were they cloud seeding all the way up into New York?
Oh, yeah.
Like it rains all the time up there. Who's
Yeah, I know.
cloud seeding?
I don't know.
So I don't know. I mean, but that is, I mean, they admitted it.
They did.
So that's
They
very
did.
bad.
They admitted it to seeding, yeah.
That's
They did
that.
not admit that they caused this storm.
No, but it looks bad.
Yeah, it does
right?
look very
massive, unheard of 1,000-year flood.
bad. Yeah.
Cloud seeding 2 days.
2
before.
days later.
Yeah.
2
That
days
looks
later.
really bad, folks. I'm sorry.
Yep.
It does.
Can you cloud seed during like the non-rainy season so we can get some rain when it doesn't rain
Yeah.
here? Like
I
this is
know,
the-
like that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, if that's what they did, then their cloud seeding experiment was wildly successful, way too successful, right? And they should be able to use it, but I don't know.
yeah.
Dude, their story that like, oh, the vapor dissipated and then it comes back later that doesn't mean that they didn't cause it, Like,
Right.
But
yeah. They're trying to say that means they didn't cause it.
it was a tropical depression. How
Yeah.
does cloud seeding cause a tropical depression?
Yeah.
I don't think it can. So I think the depression made it ripe for rain.
Yeah.
And then
It's possible that their cloud seeding just like supercharged it.
possibly.
Yeah.
Right.
So then my other point
And that's
was
why it dumped so much water.
no one could have predicted that the forces in the pressure would end up stalling the storm right over top of some place. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you can cloud seed all day, but the thing could just move across the land because the forces are pushing it, and then it dumps 20 inches of rain over
Right.
hundreds of miles, and that'd be great.
Yeah. That's why.
But if it just stops and dumps 20 inches of rain in one spot,
Yeah.
See, and this is the thing, like 2002, it did the same thing, but just on our side of the divide at the North Prong Medina River.
yeah,
And it sat there for days and days and days.
yeah.
And it rained like, I could be wrong, but I want to say that it was like 30 inches up there in the North Prong.
We could ask Grok. But I
Ask
won't.
Grok.
I'm gonna believe you. It's 30
Yeah.
inches. We're just gonna go with that.
You got to be careful with Grok right now.
Grok is very hallucinogenic right now.
Grok got unchained. He went insane. It was great. He's back to more normal now, but yeah, he was for a while. Anyway, I think that the cloud seeding thing is interesting. Like they're trying to say, of course, it wasn't their fault, but
Looks bad,
Right.
Jots.
it looks bad, and it's very possible that it's it's like a combination of all those things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is why you probably shouldn't try to do weather modification.
Right.
We're not good enough to predict it yet. And so you're
Which
like, wow,
means
we're kind of in a drought. Maybe we should get some rain over this one particular area, but you don't realize, because like, dude, the storm that destroyed the vineyard like 3 weeks before was completely like, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
no
it did.
prediction for
Right.
that one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you can't predict where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
So even if you can seed a cloud and make it rain, you can't make sure that the cloud like circles over a nice little area. It's just you just
Right.
don't know.
Yeah. And if something big comes in where you seeded and then like all that shit combines, then it's going to get really bad. That's what yeah. It's wild.
I'd have to look into it more, but initial reaction is skeptical.
Skeptical
Not
that it is
you.
the only cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that cloud seeding can work.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
Most definitely can.
yeah. And whatever that, it would be like looking into it. What, was it this fine dust and it's just blowing around up there in the upper atmosphere for days?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it causes like lots of nucleation in those clouds that came
Oh,
in.
yeah.
And that's why it dumped so much water all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite
It's crazy.
subject? Nucleation.
Yeah. Combined with my least favorite subject, chemtrails. I guess it's just a neutral.
Yeah. Now it's a neutral.
It's a neutral subject.
It's like nucleation with chemtrails.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you coming
thanks
on.
for joining us, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh boy. All righty, folks. You saw it here first. Dozer Dan, man on the ground. He is the man
You're gonna have
of
to
the
play him
ground.
some. Yeah, gonna have to play him some funky stuff now.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Have a good one, Daniel. Thanks a lot.
Y'all too. Right.
Later, bro. Yep.
All right, entertain them. I've got to go get some Guild Stranger beers.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
I can try to entertain them. Yeah, so we are I want to do like a follow-up show on the cart ruts. Because we got so many great emails and comments and everything on that show. And it was exactly what I asked for. I was like, send us your theories and we will destroy them. And we got an enormous amount of amazing ideas on what those cart ruts could be. So I want to do a follow-up to that. So we're planning that at some point. I think we'll do that soon. I've also been talking to Randall. I'm gonna trying to get Randall back on the show. We haven't had Randall on since we started Cosmographia. So I've been talking back and forth with him. Want to get him on. And we have a couple of other cool guests lined up in the future as well. But the other thing I want to tell you guys is that, oh yeah, we have presents as well. But the other thing I want to tell you guys is like, we're also, I know like our publishing schedule this entire year has been terrible. But the other thing it's been really bad. I know, I'm sorry. But the other thing that's happening right now is we're trying to finish the winery. So we're building this giant, beautiful building. Maybe Kyle has pictures. So that we have our own like multi-million-dollar facility, so where we can produce wine on our property instead of having to take it to somebody. Because like up until now, we harvest our grapes and we have to haul them miles away to a different town to use somebody else's facility. So we're trying to build this building and we're trying to get it done before harvest this year so we can use it. So we're really busy with that. And yeah, so just, I don't know, the publishing schedule has been terrible this year, but I'm trying to get us back on schedule. I want to release an episode every week rather than every week and a half or 2 weeks, which is what we've basically been doing for the past year or so. So I apologize for all that. But we're working on it. Both of us still have day jobs. Also, I got married.
That's a huge part of it.
Yes. I have way less free time.
Blame the wife.
I'm not blaming the wife. I'm just saying.
Blame the wife.
I'm not blaming you, babe.
He's like looking up into the sky.
Babe.
I can't make the scene change now. It's not responding to my hotkeys.
Really?
What just happened? 1, 2, 3. Nothing's
Uh-oh.
working. All right.
Just
We're
click
going
on that. Yeah,
RK.
there we
Screw
go.
it. Stupid freaking OBS. It's O bullshit.
It is, especially on
the
Mac
Mac.
OS. Yeah, Mac OS. Oh, bullshit S. What do we got here? Should
We got
open these?
gifts. I don't know. You want me to turn the camera?
Yeah.
All right. All right. We'll
That's
just.
the other thing. These have been sitting here for so long.
Here,
Gates-
just sit down. Do
Gates of the Anunnaki. This looks excellent.
All right. Let's see here.
Will I have to sit down?
No.
You can't follow
no.
me around with the camera?
I can follow you around.
There we
Let's
go.
do facial recognition. Come on.
Yeah, the problem is I'm far away from the mic.
There we
Oh,
go.
this is from Chandra. Yeah, she says, hope all is going well. Have thoroughly been enjoying all the science being conducted lately, along with Ben, Adam Young, Matt Bell, Carolee, Polka, Dr. Max. Love that this team keeps growing as
Me
other
too.
independent researchers offer up their time, talent, and treasure. Yes. So she's sending us a bunch of souvenirs from conferences. Ooh, UFO, the Disclosure Foundation. This is here you go, bro. And a beer coaster.
Oh, beer koozie?
Yeah, and shirts.
Oh, no, it's a coaster. Oh, cool. Hey, this is a patch.
Oh, is it a patch?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is stuff from CPAC. There we go. And some shirts. Excellent.
Thank you, Chandra.
And this is SnakeBros. This is from Eric. He says, "Never heard of your before. Never heard of before in the Discord. Long time listener, first time correspondent. Wanted to send you guys a 1-up box for a while now. Just getting around to it. Found you guys through the ever repeated wormhole of Rogue and Graham and Cosmo with Randall and Gramerica. Excellent. Oh my God, bro. What do we got? Fishing gear for stash.
Holy smokes! Big hooks.
Yeah, he says you've provided me
Got some bass hooks right here, folks.
years of fantastic commentary on ancient mysteries and exposed me to many ideas that have yet to be explained. Every show is a home run. Encloses an assortment of fishing tackle, mostly freshwater stuff for bass and a few hooks for beach fishing. I made all this stuff myself where I work. I hope you guys carve out a little time this spring to do some fishing and camping. Since in this crazy world we're living in, every opportunity to do so is precious. Keep up the good work. Keep churning out that sweet, sweet $50 Dynasty music. Bro, this is awesome. Thank you.
You made these?
He says he made them.
How do you make this? This is awesome, dude. Thank you. Man, we used to do a lot of freshwater fishing, and in fact, the rivers here are amazing freshwater fishing rivers. You got it off of the tracking?
Yeah, it says it said subject lost.
Okay. Yeah, so now that the river's up, we can hey, you got to look at the bright side.
Yeah. This is
I have to, you know what?
Stash is gonna freak out. This is awesome.
This is amazing. Thank you so much. And before we move on, Guild Stranger, I got your package. Once again, a beautiful package of beers with this incredibly beautiful, amazing beer cozy.
Yeah, these are cool.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try this beer. So, Ozark beer. Hard work, honest beer.
The bottle just slides right into it.
And I really appreciate these beers and this beer koozie. But again, I know that there's a lot of death and destruction and people have lost all kinds of things. And that, of course, is horrible.
Yeah.
But on the bright side, that river, first of all, the water we need. We need the water.
We need the water, yeah.
And we've had some
I've been watching the lake
rain.
out here. It's still
The lake filled up, basically,
except for the part that we can see from the top.
Oh, yeah?
There's you can see like a stream in it now, which is the first time we've seen that in 10 years?
Yeah. Oh, I heard that it filled up. I guess it didn't, huh?
I mean, it doesn't look, it still looks like grass out there. Maybe it's just shallow. I don't know.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, wow. That is... Try this. See if you like that. It's like a coffee, thick, kind of sweet.
Woo!
Too much?
Yeah.
Woo! Let me look at this again. All right. The one beer I couldn't do, I think this was Guild Stranger who sent this, was the chocolate one.
Chocolate beer.
Somebody sent I think it was you, Guild Stranger. I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
But the other IPAs are great.
Okay.
This one's doable.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Not exactly my style, but I'm gonna do it. Thank you, sir. And I'll try this next one next. Let's see. This is a lager. This is probably more my cup of tea. So yeah,
New York.
New York was
And
incredible. So Boston. So we go to New York. We stayed with Adam Young, and great guy, by the way. Took us all into his house. Him and his wife and his 2 kids, 3 kids.
Yep.
2 kids and a baby. And had a really cool little spot in New York City, and then we went out to Long Island after it was all over, which they have another house out there. It was freaking awesome. Went out on the boat. But yeah, the so we flew up there. We stayed with him one night, and then got up early in the morning, and we all drove down to Boston in the crap. What is that van called? The giant van.
Is it Sprinter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sprinter van.
Yeah.
And had the appointment there at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, which was incredible. We couldn't take footage really during the scanning process and the analysis or the data collection process because they have an extremely tight security system. They've been robbed a few times, and I'm assuming the robbing was paintings. That's just my assumption. But they have a huge collection of hard stone vases and artifacts from ancient Egypt and pre-dynastic stone vessels. And so we got to go back into the storeroom, and it was just this beautifully organized shelves from floor to ceiling in this tight hallway, both sides, just all these shelves just full of vessels. And of course, Katawi and Adam had gone through their online library beforehand and picked a set of vessels.
Yeah.
Primarily for us to start with. And then Adam would go back in there and kind of look through the storeroom to see, oh, actually, we do need to look at this one, you know. So we did 3 different types of analysis. We did the 3D scanning with the laser scanner that Katawi uses from yeah, I just forgot the company name.
Oh, for the handheld?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just forgot it.
Sorry.
Sorry. Anyways, we did that. And then the other one was the photogrammetry, which they got a really nice photogrammetry setup now, which is way better than what I was doing when we were at the Petrie Museum. But it's like a little light box. You put the artifact in it on this turntable that's connected to a DSLR camera and timed, and the turntable turns a certain degree, stops, and the camera takes a shot, and it does it all automatically.
Oh, nice.
It's really nice. So really great photogrammetry collected, and that's really quick. So they were able to, Adam was running that system, and he was able to go through just everything that they had. You know, he got a bunch. Not everything that they had, but everything we had on the cart real quick, and then he would go back and get more. The scanning takes a long time. I think we only got 6 vessels scanned. There's some software and computer issues there processing, and it's just so much data.
Yeah, we had to talk about maybe working on getting a custom built, like more like a desk, because they're using a laptop and they've got one of the, like top of the line with top of the line laptop hardware, but it just can't cut it. So I discussed with Cowdery, like I'm gonna try talking to Matt and see if we can reach out to some. What?
Can't do it.
You can't do the coffee beer.
I can't do it, Gil Stranger.
Anyway, I'm gonna, because Cowdery is, you know, like looking at getting these sponsorships in the form of equipment. So I'm gonna see if I can do my part and maybe get a.
That would be great.
So we need like a custom built small water rack mounted desktop computer with a desktop motherboard in it with a high end graphics card, water cooled with a high end, you know, CPU and RAM and everything, but small and water cooled, portable basically. And I'm gonna see if I can get somebody, one of the computer companies to like be like, hey dude, we'll take cool pictures of your machine and like in the Serapeum or whatever, scanning boxes and stuff, you know. See if I can get a sponsorship.
Shining 3D.
Yeah.
Shining
3D is the name of the scanner.
Yeah, sorry, it just came to me. Shining 3D. I was gonna look up my pictures because I have pictures of it. It was the laser scanner. Sorry about that.
So yeah, Cowdery was having a serious problem with the software.
And it's intermittent, right? Sometimes, and it's unknown why, it just.
But he did tell me that when he runs, like even without that problem that happened that specific day, he did say that when he runs the software and the scanner using his desktop at home, it's so much faster, so much smoother, and the processing is much better.
Yeah. So the third process that we were doing was the endoscope. And the endoscope is, I really think that this one needs to be worked on more as well. We've tried a couple of different methods. But basically, the laser scanner can't see all the way in and capture all of the data on the insides of the vases like a CT scan can. And
Yeah.
even with a CT scan, there's some problems with
can't get any lasers in here.
there's some problems with noise. And you guys can go to the Ancient Technology podcast, and Katawi did a pretty good.
Oh, his presentation was great.
He did a presentation on his podcast. He did a whole thing on scanning.
I know, but I'm just saying, like the way he ran through it, his presentation was awesome.
So we will be publishing the presentations we did as well. We'll get to that in a minute. But basically, with CT scanning, because the waves are passing through this rock that has all these different materials in it, it can scatter, and so you'll get noise on the inside. And the problem with that noise is that removing the noise is somewhat a choice. Like, it's arbitrary. Like, how much noise do you remove? How do you know where the real surface of the inside is? And did you remove some data that was actually part of the surface? Right. So it's probably the best scanning type because it does collect the most data, but it's also an extremely heavy machine that you can't get into most museum like the place we went. There's no way.
Yeah.
It was a tiny little like corner office space. You can't get a CT scanner in there. You'd have to have them remove the artifacts and take them to another facility, which no one's going to be like, oh yeah, sure guys, take the vases with you. So this
can you describe the artifact areas, or is that like off limits?
Well, I just did. Like, I mean, I described it in terms of like the hallway with all the drawers full, or the shelves full of stuff. I mean, but it's basically like we're almost like in a basement under this museum, you know? And I mean, it's just giant rooms with shelves like this, and they're just stacked with the artifacts, and you can see into the shelf, and the shelf has all this foam, and it's cut all for each artifact to sit and be protected and stable. And they're all labeled numbers. They all have category numbers, and they have them listed. I mean, they have this incredible system of keeping track of where every single thing is and its data.
I've been seeing this argument pop up again about, and this is not with the snakes or in the Discord or anything, just in general, this argument about
boxes in the basements of museums
of private collectors. You know, and the people are like, well, the reason we don't really know what's going on is because everyone's got these private collections. And I'm thinking, like, dude, I think the most artifacts are in the basements of big museums.
Yes. So at this museum, they have an enormous collection, but there's only like a few on display.
There's like 6 to 12 vases on display. And actually, you were saying that the guy was complaining. The curator was like, "I wish we could display more of these."
He loves these artifacts, and he was like, "Oh my god, I would love to have a huge display with a bunch of these, but you know, there's only so much space up there that I can put, and they have to move. They're always like,
they got new exhibits coming in and out,
and so he can't. He was like, I hope someday that I'll be able to put all these on display. And we weren't asking them about him, but he was just talking about how much he loved them and everything.
Yeah, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because this concept of like, oh, it's private collectors like keeping information from people because they have their precious private collection somewhere in their basement. I think that a lot of this data is in the basements of museums, and it is accessible, but it's gate kept, like very strongly gate kept, right? And the gatekeeping is like, are you a real researcher? Do you have a real plan? You can't just go in there and say, can I see your vases? You know?
Yeah. I'm going to use this chat.
Okay.
For some reason. Anyway, keep talking.
So yeah, that's the point I was trying to make is like, I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of artifacts in private collections, but I think that especially when you look at, like, you know, when you're going through the museum or even looking through their catalog, they say purchased or received from private collections. Like the museums are slowly collecting these things over time from private collectors as well as actual digs.
Yes. Now, in a lot of the data that you'll see about these artifacts, they were purchased from private collectors.
Yeah. So private collectors, you know, they either pass on they deed their private collection to a museum, or they donate it, or it gets purchased.
Yeah.
Right. or it gets passed on through the family, or there's an estate sale, whatever. So I think over time the museums are collecting them, and they have enormous collections that are just not available to the public because you have to be, an archaeologist or have credentials of some kind or have some reason to be down there. And like how it's been interesting to watch how Cowdery and Adam are working to get into these museums and do actual the actual research on the artifacts, and then how many of them there are. You
There's
go in
so
there,
many.
like you got this tiny little research space, and then there's just hallways with shelves going to the
Yeah.
ceiling, and then they were saying in this one there's like another storage area, and they were like, well, we don't want to get that one because it's over there. Like, so there's an enormous amount of artifacts.
Yeah.
And they aren't in. They're not in the public record. They're not digitized anywhere.
Now,
The
hold on.
only way that they exist on the internet or to find is like catalog numbers.
If you go to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, you can find they have a online database that has all their artifacts. So
Yeah.
that's how they picked the ones they wanted. Now they usually have one picture of the artifact,
Yeah.
and then they have a little description and what its provenance is, and
God, I'd love to have that job.
so you've got that that is online and available.
Yeah.
But so far, I haven't seen storerooms of giant dusty boxes full of stuff, right? Like this basement storage area was immaculate. Like it was just pristine.
Sure.
And they had it, so it was very well. I mean, I had this vision in my mind of like underneath the Smithsonian, dude, the
Yeah.
giant skulls
Yeah.
are in these dusty boxes stacked up in the
No,
corner.
I'm sure they're
with
immaculately
cobwebs
stored and cataloged. Yeah. Cobwebs.
Yeah. So I mean, look, it is a delicate process you have to be able to present yourself as, a trustworthy and upstanding group of people or a team that's going to be allowed to come in and handle these priceless artifacts. We're literally picking them up off this cart, just moving this thing over a concrete floor.
Yeah.
I mean, you could drop it broken.
And that's it. Yeah.
And like, what are they going to do? I mean,
Straight to jail.
it doesn't matter what they do.
Right.
The thing is broken
Yeah. That's
forever. They can glue it back together, but it's not what it was originally.
Public flogging.
So it's just, I'm telling you, it's nerve wracking being in there, handling these things and being super careful. Like, don't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
And then try to maintain that level of credibility with your work and a reputation of being a good team, right? So yeah, you don't want to ruin that.
And the
because-
reputation is being built.
Yeah.
Since the Petrie, like you guys have been building up. Like now we've visited all these museums. We've successfully done this. It's we're not thieves or like it's serious.
Yeah.
And there's no damage. Yeah.
And this is the other deal with publication. Like, people are getting mad that we're switching sides and now hiding information. It's ridiculous because the information will come out, but the analysis process takes a long time. Like, I didn't know anything about this analysis process. So yeah, they could release the scans online, and then online would be flooded with a whole bunch of people's analysis. But as we're learning through this process to come up with a reliable alignment of the vase, or each vase fragment, when there's no flat surfaces or every surface has like some kind of a radius or a curve to
There's
it.
nothing
How
flat.
do you tell if you've aligned the vase properly? And then when you start applying these perfectly flat planes or sphere or
Yeah.
circles to it, how do you know that they're aligned properly? So that's been a problem with some of the analysis that we've seen already, and they're trying to make sure that they have an extremely robust system that is going to be the same for every single vase or vase fragment or piece of anything that's ever scanned,
Yeah.
to be aligned properly within the 3D modeling system, and then it can be analyzed against all of these perfect forms to determine its circularity, concentricity, and these various different measurements. And that's important. You can't really build a good data set if every fragment is being aligned arbitrarily by the person doing the analysis. Like,
Yeah.
well, just it kind of looks better like this.
Yeah.
So I don't fully understand it, but that's been the setback, is figuring that out. But now I think that has been figured out. And once now the analysis of these vases can come fairly quickly in all the fragments.
I
And
also think that once, like I think it would be cool. Maybe this will happen. I don't know, but you have the aligned data, right? And you can say, okay, here's all the stuff we scanned, and all of them have been aligned, and they've all been aligned with this system, this software that was made. Here's the code.
they're going to release the code.
Yeah, so it'll be open source software. And then after all that's done, then you could say, also, here's the raw data. But now that you have a systematically aligned
Yeah, exactly.
one,
That's been the purpose.
Right.
They can release everything
Right.
afterwards, but
yeah, exactly. You
So-
want to say, here's the baseline, here's the code we use to build the baseline. Also, here's the raw data if you want to mess with that. But here's what we're working with now.
but also all the work that Katawi and Adam have been doing, like with the Artifact Foundation, to get access, to get these scans done, to get access to the equipment needed to do the to gather this data. All of that was a ton of work.
Yeah.
And the only thing that they were really wanting was, first chance of publication on the analysis.
Yeah.
Now, it turns out it took way longer than they expected to get a system down. Like, Katawi had to write all this code
Yeah.
to get it right. And he's had the code looked at by multiple peers that he trusts. And it's,
And
So-
Katawi's a perfectionist, so it's just like,
yeah, it's perfect, basically.
it's taking a long time because he's like,
Actually, he did it incredibly quickly. He did it in 6 months
Yeah.
or less. But they had somebody else.
quickly.
Anyways, I don't need to get into that. So
Oh,
yeah,
now the chat is joking about potsherd. So we're all the way back to potsherd.
we're back to potsherds.
Yeah.
No, that's pottery sherd.
Yeah, that's right.
Not
This is not
stone.
pottery. And it's not stoneware. It's like, stone vessels.
Yeah, stone sherds.
Yeah. These were made by pre-pottery people.
That's another thing we're getting into, is that there's quite a few pre-pottery Neolithic stone vessels. So we're hoping to get over to Turkey. We're going to work on that
Yeah.
connection and go scan some of those, because they are dated by archaeology to be 12,000 and 13,000 years old, up to, I guess, the stuff from Kortik Tepe it's the oldest one. It was in the Younger Dryas. So if any
Yeah.
of those stone vessels are dated from the layers that are back then, we're talking before the end of the Younger Dryas, they were
Yeah.
making stone vessels that look incredible. So yeah, it's great. This is fantastic. And you know what? Screw the people that are mad. Like, whatever. You can get mad, but
People are mad all the time.
this kind of stuff really is all about relationships. So we're trying to build relationships with these museums and these museum curators. They have to watch out for their reputation. A lot of, academia is extremely concerned with reputation. And we don't want to ruin it for them, because they'll never let us in.
Yeah.
And then word will go around and we'll never get access ever again.
anywhere
So if
ever
you
again.
think that
Yeah. You have to play the game to some point.
if you're mad because data is not being released immediately, well, there are agreements, with these people, like, hey, you have first right to look at what we're going to publish. I'm not publishing any papers, folks, but Katawi and Adam, and they're going to have the first right to look at it and say, oh yeah, this is great, we like this,
Yeah.
And I think the goal too is to start the publishing in metrology journals,
Yeah.
because they don't really care necessarily if the archaeological community is like, oh, great work.
They want
Because
the
what they're
metrologist. They want the metrologist
Yes.
to look at it and be like, this is good work.
Yes.
This is solid. Like, I don't care what the object is. Like, you did solid work on analyzing this object.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you know, once the analysis is out there, in terms of circularity, concentricity, precision, whatever you call it, uh, people are free to study the geometry,
Yeah.
to analyze all this stuff with these perfectly aligned, all the same alignments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great. People won't be complaining in 10 years. I hope. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
building up the database, but
Yeah.
but
Someone will be complaining, but you're right.
You're right.
But most people won't
dang
be
it, you
complaining.
know what?
Someone.
I refuse to complain about that.
There you go.
I'm happy that people are complaining. It just tells me that life is happening normally
Yeah.
everywhere.
That's right. Someone is always like, "Why didn't you do it this way?" Yeah. People are asking for pictures, like no photos yet.
Well, okay, so going back to this museum, we were not allowed to take footage. We were allowed only to document the artifact. So let me just show you guys videos of us doing all this. Like, no, I'm not going to do that because we didn't take any. Yeah, it was a very high security situation. So the footage is of the artifacts themselves, and we will definitely be showing the artifacts themselves at some point. I don't have them ready right now, and
Yeah.
yeah. So
We'll
get to that.
Were they
as Marty
mostly
would say.
small? They're mostly small objects, or were you guys?
No, we had some large ones too. I mean, some of them in there are just too large to scan. Like we need that giant computer.
You need a big one, yeah.
But yeah, we had, you know, the little sizes like this, all the way up to, you know, there was one like bottle shaped one. I mean, with an opening like this out of that black granite with the little white crystals all in it. Just this beautiful long thing like this with little ears that stood out the side. They weren't lug handles. It was like the lug handles were shortened all the way to this little 1/4 inch wide ear that stuck out on both sides.
Like an actual vase, like shaped like a...
It was like a little lip like this, and then it came out and it was long like that. It was a very interesting one.
Like a
and then
flask.
we had one that was calcite that was a long piece, like this long, and it was like that big around. And it looked like it was probably a drill core that was taken out as a drill core, and then someone tapered it and cored it out to make a vase. And I had to do the endoscope on that thing. I was like, oh my God. So the endoscope process, going back to that, is to capture images, a series of images all the way around in a series down, 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 all the way into the bottom of the vase. And also looking down at the bottom and looking up at the underside of the lip all the way around. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And the endoscope is not the greatest camera.
Didn't you find something in one of them?
I found some markings inside one of them.
How do you think they made markings on the inside?
There were a couple of markings that I was like, what is this? And then I saw the same marking in all these different places. And then I started seeing with the endoscope, oh, there's a crack and there's another crack. The whole thing had been glued back together.
Ah, okay.
And it was the markings of the archaeologist or the
they were
person.
writing numbers on
They
it.
wrote.
Okay.
So they actually took this vase from however many fragments and found all the pieces and glued it all back together.
They're not ancient.
And from the outside, you couldn't tell. It looked...
It was a beautiful restoration.
It looked perfect. And then I'm like so this is why the endoscope is important.
Yeah, because that's not going to be a good scan for...
This is another thing that CT might not pick up. Would the CT scan pick up the fact that this thing was very, very well re-glued back together? The CT scan wouldn't see the little marks on the inside. It's only picking up the geometry. So the endoscope, or taking the images of the outside and the inside, is a key factor.
Yeah, because if it's been reconstructed, you don't want to do precision scanning. I mean, you know, it's been rebuilt. So the precision, it doesn't matter.
Well, if it's perfect, it's... I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
If it's perfect, somebody will...
If it's still incredibly precise.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a fluke, you know?
So there were
putting
vases,
it back together actually made it more precise.
Yeah, there were vases multiple that I looked at where I couldn't tell on the outside that it had been repaired, and I went in with the endoscope and saw the glue. Some of them I saw the markings. One of them I saw scratch marks that looked like one of those little...
You got to use a UV light. It
Yeah.
just shows up immediately.
Maybe. Yeah. I should
Remember
bring.
Matt Bell was.
We brought the UV
Matt Bell
last time.
Matt Bell was showing me and Ben that you weren't down there. He had this big UV flashlight and he turned it on.
I bought one.
Okay, he turned it on a thing of his vases, and you could see some of them had these lines that just showed up immediately, and you're like, okay, that. He's like, yeah, that one's been glued back together. Yeah,
That's your job.
okay.
You're in the next meeting.
Okay, good.
UV guy. Russ is gonna come out of there all sunburnt.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, that's a really great point. But the endoscope also picked up possibly a carving on the inside of one of them that looked like a
carving.
scratch.
Okay,
I can't tell, but to me it
that's
looked
what
like,
I thought you said. There
you
was
know,
a
those
symbol
little
carved.
those little the scratches on the outside where they would say, oh, that's the label of the vase. It was made for this king or whatever.
yeah,
It's these
yeah.
little scratches. It looked like that on the inside, like they would have put a tool in there and done this on the inside. I don't know. It was very rough.
Some guy's got
kind of hard to
a
tell.
dentist mirror down in there and the dentist
Yeah,
tool,
yeah.
and he's like, this vase is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, it was a great experience.
Was there
and,
supposed to be scanning at the Met in New York?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think
I
there's
thought-
going to be an attempt. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Right. So the one
at
that we
this
went
point.
to for the scanning was in Boston, the Met in Boston.
The
And then we
Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we wasn't it the Metropolitan Museum of Fine Arts in Boston? Wasn't that what it was called? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I thought it was also the Met, but it was in Boston. It was like maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Maybe.
then we went back to New York after that, and we had the meetup, which was amazing. That was really cool. Like the museum was chaos.
Yeah.
Weekend, it was packed, but it was still a lot of fun.
And we didn't have radios, so it was
Yeah.
kind of hard to talk. But
yeah, you can't shout, but and there's just a lot of people in there. And it's
it was
just
still
very
great.
noisy.
Like
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
got to have some one-on-one time with various different people looking at stuff, and
Yep. Got to meet Troy and Jonathan and April. It was amazing.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And some people we had seen before on tours and stuff. So like old faces and new faces, and it was really fun. That was a lot of fun.
And then the Explorers Club event, just like, man, that was a time.
Yeah, that was the other thing. So like when we got done showing people, we got to the museum early, and we sort of went through and we're like, okay, we want to talk about these objects. And then when everybody got there, we went through the museum. We're like, yeah, this part of this part. And then we got to the end. We're like, okay, we have to leave. Bye. Meet us at the Explorers Club in a couple hours. Have fun. That was pretty funny. I thought. I was like, yeah, we just have to go and leave them here, which was okay. But yeah, we went over to the Explorers Club, and that was
set up. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do the setup and get everything ready, and so yeah, we had to leave everybody in the museum. Sorry about that, but it was still cool. Everyone made it over without getting lost.
But yeah, it was rushed. We had 4 hours, and we had 5 speakers,
Yeah.
and we were trying to do like these 30-minute lectures each, and we all basically went overtime pretty much. I think Catoe did not go overtime. I think his was on time.
Really?
I think so. You think
Okay.
he went over?
No, I think he just never planned to go under like 45 minutes or whatever he did, or an hour or something, right?
Catoe? No, he
Yeah,
did like.
he talked for a long time.
Oh, okay. I thought he was only like 30 minutes or 25
No,
minutes.
no, I don't think so.
Well, it went by fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we had they wouldn't let us bring the drinks in to the area where we're doing the lectures. So we'd be like,
Yeah.
all right, 5-minute break. Everybody would go out, grab a beer,
Yeah.
and they'd be like this far down on the beer, and then we're like, time
Let's
to get back in
go.
there.
Yeah.
Everybody's like slams their drinks, and it was like, dude. But we made it through, and it was just fantastic. I feel like it was kind of a really good challenge. I feel like to put together a presentation in that short amount of time
Yeah.
to try to make this point.
Kyle won the contest on that.
You think?
He was able to record a version of him giving his presentation that was 24 minutes long.
I did do that.
Right. I practiced mine I don't know how many times, and I could never get it below 30. The shortest one I did was like 30 minutes and 15 seconds. You know,
And he was hauling ass.
and I was like, and I was just like, this is not gonna work. I mean, you know,
Ben gave him some time. Ben had an hour, so
well,
we-
Ben had been at the
Cosmic Summit.
at Cosmic Summit, and he's sending us messages, and he's like, oh, public speaker, and I was like, well, why don't you give me 10 of your public speaking minutes then, since you hate it? And he's like, hey, you can take it. So, but then we got there, and Adam is like, mine's basically 50 minutes, and Kyle and I are like, what, dude? So we basically figured out that we had more time than we thought. And then what was cool was that the Explorers Club actually ended up giving us more time as well. They were like, you know what, you guys are fine, just, you know. And so we ended up having extra time. So we were able to chill out, slow down. And yeah, I think so something I had practiced delivering in 30 minutes, I was able to do in 45, which made I was able to slow down. I was able to crack some jokes, and it was good. But everybody's presentation was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
So we Russ and I sort of deviated from the vase scan project specifically, but that's what Adam, Catoe, and Ben focused on more or less. But so Adam opened it up, introductions. He talked a little bit about the Explorers Club and the history there, which he's a member of. Really cool. I'd not really known a whole lot about it, and it was great learning that from Adam. But Adam is the founder of the Artifact Foundation and the owner of the OG vase, the first vase that was scanned and analyzed.
Yeah.
And he's been pushing this project, this beauty.
Yes.
He's been pushing this project for a long time. So he discussed the major goals of the project and how it's sort of developed over time and why it's important and what the main questions are about, you know, where these artifacts come from and all of that. And then Catoe was next, and he basically gave a rundown of almost kind of what I was just telling you guys about the problems or the challenges in both getting access to these museums and getting equipment in there and doing the scans in a proper manner that gives you the ability to do a proper analysis, the trouble with aligning the vases, all of these hurdles that had to be overcome in order to get to this point of ultimately publication. And it was fantastic. I mean,
yeah, he also showed like what are the trade-offs, you know?
Yes.
So he has this
a handheld scanner.
and he's like, this was 20 microns, right? So, but if you can get the object into a lab with a really high quality, non-movable, you know, non-portable scanner, then you can get much tighter scans. But like, so this idea that this, I've seen some people online are like, this thing he's using is a potato. It's
They're
not.
criticizing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the price you pay for portability.
People, we went into the Serapeum and scanned boxes.
He showed this corner that he scanned of the box with this thing. It was awesome. Like, you can't do that.
We went into Lahoon and scanned the Lahoon box, and they basically confirmed Petrie's measurements on that box.
Yeah.
For the first time ever. Okay, you can't do that with like these, you know, all in one, put the thing in there, it scans it, whatever. You can't do that. So the handheld really is the most versatile unit.
Yeah.
That allows you to drag it all the way down under the step pyramid and do scans where provenance is not a question.
Yeah.
And you can take it in and scan boxes and scan large objects. So
yeah, no one is claiming that Lahoon box is a forgery.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I was talking to him about this while he was looking at all the different scanners, and he did so much research on all these different scanners, and he picked one based on the versatility and the number of different challenges and objects that we may have to look at. And
Yeah.
I think he made a great choice.
Conditions, portability, like all this stuff. And
Yeah.
they're also, the company is working on it, and he says that they're making a new one that may like
solve some
problems and also be tighter in
Yeah.
terms of precision.
Mhm.
Well,
accuracy.
Yeah.
So his presentation was on all that, and then he talked about the results of the box scans, which was great. And then mine was on the Taj Tepelair, and basically I did my best to tie it into the vases, which actually led me down a rabbit hole that I had not
It was cool.
even thought about.
Yeah. But Kyle gets up there, he's like, now for something completely different. Look at these T-pillars.
Look at these arrowheads. But the basis of mine was about differences in stoneworking technology. So it was kind of,
Yeah.
you know, in a roundabout way, the same thing. And then as it turns out, there's a whole bunch of stoneware in the Taj Tepelair that is clearly dated to 12,000 years ago. And then the more I looked into these stone vessels, the more I found from, you know, 8,500 all the way to 6,500 BC.
And there's plates and yeah.
Yeah, and some of them look like amazing.
Yeah.
So, and even some, like I said, I don't know the dates at Cortec Tepe, but they may be 12,000 years old or 13,000 years old. And that would be insane. So, just talked about that and like some problems I see with the connection of stoneworking technologies of the T-pillars versus the arrowheads and all these things that are supposedly attributed to the pre-pottery Neolithic. Then Russ's presentation was on the flood myths all over the world and how they all talk about, in some way or another, this knowledge that is either being destroyed or preserved on purpose by, you know, certain actors or certain special characters, connecting it all sort of to like the vaults of Hermes and how there's just legends all over the place that there are these storehouses of ancient lost technology.
Yeah, some of which were retrieved in antiquity and some of which probably weren't. You know, I mean, the famous one obviously is the Hall of Records below the paws of the Sphinx, but the entire Giza Plateau has long been, you know, legendarily is like a storage place, and the pyramids themselves are actually markers, maybe, but you know, then you start thinking like, well, what are the interior structures for if they're supposed to be markers? But maybe they have a dual purpose. But the presentation was, look at the flood myths across the world, look at the commonalities. One of the commonalities is they were forewarned. Not everyone, right? But it does look like when you look at the flood myths that a lot of people around the world were forewarned about a coming flood, which implies that there was somebody who knew it was going to happen, who was going around trying to try to protect yourself. And in some cases, they were also saying, preserve your civilizational knowledge.
Yeah.
And in those cases, after the flood was over, they were like, okay, retrieve the civilizational knowledge, or because you saved these people, the sages or whatever, the Apkallu, you can rebuild civilization. But then there was an effort to go around, and people who didn't have knowledge or didn't preserve it, they were teaching them how to be civilized again all over the planet. And so the concept, and then at the very end, I was like, so what does this have to do with the vases? Well, maybe the vases came from one of these vaults. And they stored information in the vases in the same way that they store information in the myths. There are numbers about procession and everything in these ancient stories, like you see in Hamlet's Mill, all this research on Hamlet's Mill, and the vases also have math and principles of sacred geometry stored in them in the same way. And I just think that's really cool. And it's like, here we are, many, many thousands of years later, looking at these ancient stories, and we're studying these vases, and we're discovering stuff that, you know, that people who've been using these in antiquity, they didn't know about the precision and the sacred geometry that was stored in these things. The people who retrieved them, you know, maybe some of the dynastics understood what these vases meant, like what they represented. But I guarantee you that most of the time, like especially in the very primitive burials that they were found in, those people didn't know.
Yeah.
Unless they had stories that told them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was what I just thought that was really cool, that it's like we're recovering this information now because we can. For the first time in 10, 20, or 30,000 years, we're able to recover the information from however old they are. You know, we're able to recover this information. And then Ben finished it off with the Tale of Two Industries. He showed a bunch of great slides showing that like you can take this concept and expand it from the vases, where we have, with the vases, you have very precise ones, and then you have ones that are obviously handmade, not precise. But we see this in the statues and other objects in Egypt as well.
Yeah.
It was great. All the presentations were really good. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was at some point while I was in there watching it all and just like kind of taking it all in because I hadn't seen everybody's presentation. I was just like, man, like the whole thing all together
Yeah.
was like
All of it
this,
together was great.
just like, dude, this is so cool. But yeah, that reminds me the sort of the roundup on mine, which I love, is this idea, this connection to the dating of the Sphinx by Robert Schoch at 12,000 years old. That it's basically a limestone carving, and we've got Göbekli Tepe over here that's 12,000 years old, and they're big giant limestone carvings, and they're. I love this how archaeology kicked its own ass on this argument because like when Robert Schoch dated the Sphinx at that, they're like, show me the potsherds.
Yeah.
And then now they're looking at the Taj Tepe civilization that's cutting these massive areas of bedrock out and moving megaliths around and all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, pre-pottery.
Pre-pottery. Yeah.
They did all that with their butt flaps and, very rudimentary arrowheads and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so we don't need potsherds anymore. So, and then like the fact that their arrowheads are found all the way into past Giza down further, into the Nile Valley. It's like, well, then maybe the Sphinx is 12,000 years old and maybe it was carved by these pre-pottery people.
Yep.
If you want to go with the standard archaeology explanation, but I still think that there's a possibility, and I love basically the main storyline that Graham is kind of telling through, Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods is that this idea that a more advanced civilization deep in the past suffered a cataclysm that maybe have even been localized to their community or their cities or wherever their region was, and that the survivors from that civilization took refuge with hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
And passed on their more advanced knowledge to these hunter-gatherers or worked with them to somehow preserve their knowledge in some way or another. So when you look at you look at ancient Egypt and these mysteries about these pre-dynastic vases with this advanced stonework, and then you've got Robert Schoch's dating of the Sphinx, and now you combine it with Göbekli Tepe, as Graham did in Magicians of the Gods.
Yeah.
You have a situation here where Göbekli Tepe is showing a hunter-gatherer group of people who did somehow some crazy advanced megalithic work that is not found anywhere else in that hunter-gatherer civilization all over the Fertile Crescent.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with potsherds.
Yes. They didn't even have the technology of pottery. And yet, so it's just crazy to think that there might be a possibility that this is exactly what happened, that some of these hard stone vessels that have this precision might be coming from that time period. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
So we need more data.
Yeah. I want to give real quick. I want to give a shout out, Timmy. Thank you, dude. That was like right when we started the live stream. He donated like 20 memberships to the.
Oh man.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate that. And then Bruce, way back, also gave us a donation of $20 for beers.
Hey,
and was
hey,
asking,
Bruce.
when is more Dynasty music coming out?
Oh man, Bruce. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that because it makes me realize that you want more music.
Yep.
But sadly, I haven't worked on it in a while. However, I have been making plans with old Dozer Dan. I'm hoping by, say, over the holidays, let's say November, December, January, February, in that period somewhere, we get through harvest, we do the Peru trip, we come back from the Peru trip, November, and I don't really have any major things going on. Hopefully the winery at this point is like very near completion, and it's not.
Do you think we're going to be able to do harvest at our
We're processing, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm getting.
That's what I care about.
I'm getting temporary power to the equipment.
Okay, good.
That's the plan.
Good.
I'm sticking with that plan.
Run it off batteries.
But so the hope is I've got a chunk of songs, man. I've got like, an album's worth of material And I just need to finish a few things. I need to record the drums, and I need Daniel to do a little bit more bass. We'll do some percussion.
Yeah.
We'll do some, but for the most part, everything else is done. And I'm not going to go all out like we did with Procession, but I'm just going to produce it here in the Cube. I'm not going to rent out a studio with freaking analog and do all that
and
crazy.
mastering. You can do all. Just do.
I'm
basic,
just going to do it here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to release it from here.
Perfect.
And it's probably going to be under like a different name. I don't know what. It's more of like a solo album, I guess. Mostly me and Daniel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping that over the holidays we can just kind of finish it up and get it out there. That would be great.
$1 Dynasty.
Yeah.
Solo. Single dollar.
I'm going back to the coffee beer. I finished this lager. That was good.
Well, people have also been asking us about Marty. I'm still hopeful, but I have to say, like, it doesn't look good at this point. He seems to be okay, but I'm not, mentally, I don't know. I still haven't spoken to him. We want to go visit him.
He's not answering.
I have been messaging
texting.
him, directly. Marty and I used to talk all the time directly to each other, and I've been sending him messages. Of course, a lot of you in the Discord have sent messages in the messages to Marty channel. As far as I know, he's never looked at it. He's never listened to any of my voice messages. I keep sending them because I'm hoping one day, if he's able to, he'll be able to hear them, all in a row, or if he's capable, and it could help him. Because I remember, when I was in the hospital, like those kinds of things could cheer you up, especially if you were, but it just, all I can say is, like, right now, I'm not hearing from him, and like no news is not good news in terms of his mental capacity. There's
now,
still
we know that he's home, and we
Yeah.
know that he's doing stuff, like he's up and about and doing things, but there's been some complications. I think he has to go to another.
Yes, they're going to try to get him like neurological assistance, basically, because he's I don't know.
So yeah, when we went and visited him right after it happened, when he was still in the hospital, and it was shocking. But he couldn't speak really, but he was excited, like noticeably looked at us and just he was excited.
He knew who we
hugged
were.
each other and everything, and
it seemed like it took him a little while, but eventually he figured out that we were really there.
Yeah. I can only think that I made the connection, or at least it seemed to me, like, just from looking at it from the outside, that it was almost like being in sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Where he was like awake, but just as hard as he tried, couldn't get his body to move the way he wanted, couldn't speak the way he wanted. Like it was a struggle. So that's the way it appeared. And so he's recovered a whole lot from that, but it's still maybe a long road to complete recovery.
Yeah.
And I'm not making a diagnosis. It's longer than any of us would have liked.
Yep.
So I think about this. I don't remember exactly the details, but there was a TED talk of a woman who had an aneurysm or something and just was completely out for so long. And then, like,
I read her book.
Okay. Yeah. So you can tell the story a little better, but it was that story that was like, these things can happen. They can.
And she did eventually come all the way back to like full cognition, but it took a while. Yeah. There was a
so there is that possibility. And Marty is a strong guy.
Yes,
people.
he's very physically healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a mentally strong guy as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So there's still some hope, but I don't know. I'm gonna keep sending him messages. That's all I can say. You know, we love.
We
Marty.
need to go in person again.
We
I
need
know
to go
people
see
are
him in
saying,
person. Yeah.
We have been planning that.
I don't think he ever got the jab. I'll just say that. I would bet that he didn't.
Yeah, I would bet that.
Marty was not the kind of person who would, and he was never in a situation where he had to, as far as I know. So, but I've also never asked. But we discussed the same thing, and I just don't think it's likely that he did. So, but it is strange that he's incredibly healthy and he seems young for a heart attack, and he just has this massive heart attack, and he's like he rides his bike for 40 miles at a time, and he's like does it all the time. It's easy.
Well, okay, we're gonna go into that vaccine talk. All
somebody
I'll say,
just said
I know,
it's
but
jab related. I don't
I'll
think
just
so.
say that from what I've been seeing, that it's the spike protein itself can cause blood clots.
Yeah, it could be
so
from
getting COVID
Yeah.
multiple times can cause the clotting.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're getting jabbed regularly, you're getting a lot more spike protein.
But they said it was like a massive blockage they had to do a huge bypass.
Well, these things are not completely. I'm just trying to be a little bit centrist here. Like these things are not completely unheard of before the jab ever existed.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that, and then for those of you out there who.
Yeah.
Anyway, just trying to be fair.
People are also asking about the presentations. Yes, we will. I think we're gonna I want to do Kyle's presentation on the show in a podcast form. I want to do mine the same way, probably in a different show in a podcast form. We also want to release short
videos,
produced versions of them. And yeah,
we can do both. I'm ready to do the freaking presentation. We could do it anytime.
Yeah, anytime
on the show and make it long.
Yeah,
where we can
because it'll be a discussion.
Because I could have easily done an hour, but I deleted a whole bunch of slides when I was like, oh my God, I'm going over time. So I kept deleting slides, and I'm like, I don't need to make that point. I don't need to make this point, whatever. I need to stick to the main point.
Yeah.
And I got it down to 24 minutes. And then when we were at the club, I think I did 35 or 36.
Yeah.
So I went 10 minutes longer than my practice.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I never even looked at a clock. I didn't even know how long I was going. I was so focused.
I didn't time anything either.
Yeah.
But I think everybody did. I think it was an average of 45 minutes. Ben might have done closer to 50.
I looked at my at the video to see how long it was.
Okay, yeah. I haven't looked at anything.
So we did video them. We had multiple cameras videoing.
Let's do them right now. No.
All right, let's do it.
No,
dude.
Carolina girl, no.
Let's fucking do it. Let's do both.
No.
Why not? It's only 9:47.
Yeah. I have a wife.
We could be done in by midnight.
You're right. Midnight. It's not too bad. No.
We haven't given him a show in a while. Oh wait, did you publish one last week?
No.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah. I still have the hour interview we did with the Italians. I have to get that.
How dare you not publish that
because it's it has video issues I'm trying to fix. Yeah. I will get it published, and it's like they've released a whole lot of information, and at the time I'm like, I'm looking back at it, I'm like, why didn't you guys talk to us about this stuff?
Yeah, I know.
They were super secretive about it when they were talking to us, and then they went to the Cosmic Summit and basically, and they gave a presentation as well that shows all this stuff under the plateau. And when we were talking to them, they were acting like, oh, we still need to do this, but obviously they had all that data already.
Does that make you distrust them a little bit?
No, not really. I mean, it's just, they talk to us. It's like they had this set where we're going to release this information at this time, and they talked to us before it. So
how dare you, Carolina girl 33?
What?
She's saying it's going to be a fucking year before they hear the presentations now.
That's right. Yeah. And now you make me want to hold it for 2 years.
I'll go live tomorrow.
I'll just never tell you guys now.
I want to talk about this stuff so bad. I think I talked to Russ and Ben about it so much when we were in Turkey. They were just like, I stopped bothering him with it.
Well,
But yeah, I want to talk about it constantly.
you worked really hard on your presentation and it was good. Kyle recorded himself doing it multiple times, and then we all watched it. He had multiple versions, and I was just like, I didn't show anyone. I just
You didn't work on it until like 2 or 3 days before we left.
that's bullshit. He keeps saying this is bullshit. I spent a week and a half on it.
Oh,
It took
okay.
way longer than I thought it was going to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not nearly that confident, so I started like extremely early.
No, I understand. And then the practicing is important. I practiced it a bunch
Yeah,
of
I
times.
was worried about the freaking 30-minute timeline too. I was
Yeah,
just like, oh my
yeah.
God, like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
But actually, I think it's a great exercise.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to make a bunch more presentations in that time frame because
Yeah.
I feel like it's more effective.
It is. It's pretty effective. You have to, well, it depends on what you're trying to do, I think.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to do the unfinished one in 30 minutes. Like you could, but it wouldn't be as powerful, I think.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think both versions are good. Like this is what we had talked about. Creating a new channel that is strictly for the sort of produced videos, shorter, more to the point, and then basically having that sort of like brother channel. It's not a sister channel, bro. It's a brother channel.
Yeah.
That's just for that stuff. And then we can also do the long form of each one of those on the podcast.
Yeah.
Which would be cool. Because like I did the pyramid presentation, I think when we did it live, it was 45 minutes. The pyramid construction one.
Yeah.
And then on the podcast, it was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I think both forms are good because you have one that has discussion and then another one that's just like boom, 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 boom to the point.
Yeah. And you can pre-produce it, put music to it, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have multiple things going on with the turkey side of things. Like I'm really, really interested in that. And I keep kicking my own ass on that too. I'm like, I have this whole idea, and then I start doing research on it, and then I'm like, I have to like, that idea can't be right. It's been a lot of research. I got a huge folder now full of research papers and I mean scientific papers and all kinds of stuff. Lithic studies.
Somebody's blowing you up, dude.
Is that my phone?
Yeah.
Is it coming from my phone?
It's dinging up on the screen too.
How dare it? That's the computer dinging.
Okay.
I bet it's coming through the. No,
That's all right.
the hell is dinging me? Oh, is it Telegram? Probably.
I don't know. There's another
Quit.
one. It's text messages.
How dare you?
Ding.
I don't know how to stop it.
That's all right.
Turn off notifications. Focus. Do not disturb. There we go.
Well, anyway, so the event in New York was great. The presentations were awesome. We are going to give our presentations on the podcast in podcast form with discussions. We're also going to try to make produced versions of them. We do have a new channel. We haven't launched it yet. All we have done is like secure the channel name and the emails and all that kind of stuff. But it'll have its own logo. It'll still be us, but it's going to be a place specifically for the produced videos, right? Because I think that's just a separate thing from the podcast. They're two different things. We probably initially will publish the produced videos on the podcast channel as well. I actually don't know. I was thinking about it. Been thinking about it for the past couple of days. Like, is YouTube going to give us problems? They're like, well, this video actually exists in its exact
I don't
format.
think we should. I don't think we should publish them on both.
Okay.
I think we should publish the produced videos on the new channel,
Yeah.
and then we do the long form on the podcast.
Okay.
And I mean, cross pollination the whole time. We have to plug. But
Sure.
I know people. I've heard multiple opinions because I talked to everybody about this. Like, hey, we're thinking about doing this, and like I keep getting the opinion of like, why would you do that? Like you're gonna have to build a new channel. It's gonna be a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And you have to go through all that. But I think that our I mean, not to get into the weeds too much on this, but I think that the algorithm over all the years that we've been doing the podcast is just not changing enough to be more what we're trying to do now.
Yeah.
It's not,
And we're not going to stop doing the long form.
No.
So it's like
so I think
shorter form produced content is a different audience.
it's all about getting that algorithm to basically be able to take this specific type of content and put it to all the people who want to see that all the time.
Exactly.
So if there's if there's like any kind of hesitancy to share from the original channel for some reason or another, or the long form is not as shareable as the short form produced video stuff, like the algorithm is not going to be always like every time we produce something on the long form channel, it's just looking at the metrics and all of that stuff and being like, well, I'm not going to share that with all these people because they don't want that type of content.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have to, so that's why I think making a new channel, we can curate that channel for just that type of content, and it'll be more efficient in terms of sharing and the algos. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we're doing great. Like we're not even able to publish one podcast a week now, and now we're going to start a whole new channel and make produced content as well. Good luck with that. We're working on it. I think once the winery is done and this is all complete and we've got that I think it'll go back to where we have more free time.
The other thing that's happening though is like more research trips.
Yeah.
Like this is a new thing that's been happening, and also from these research trips, we're struggling to like collect the type of producible content that we need. So
yeah,
it's like we want to be able to make documentary type videos from these research trips, but it's like we all go there with this focus and all of this, and then we go into the museum and then everybody's got a job to do, and it's like, well, who took video? Did you take pictures? Like, did anyone take pictures of me doing cool shit?
No,
because I didn't take pictures of any of you guys doing cool shit.
Calgary actually asked Kyle and I, he's like, can you send me some video of you guys doing like cool stuff? And neither one of us have any videos
through all of our stuff
of us
like,
doing cool shit, because we're videoing the rocks, and the blocks and the
me and Adam,
we don't have any videos of us doing cool stuff.
Me and Adam were joking about this too. It's just like, I go through my camera feed and it's like, it's all rocks.
Yeah.
And so we agreed. It was like the bro agreement, it's like, okay, whenever I see you doing cool shit, I'll take a picture.
Take a picture.
Yes. And you'll do the same for me, right?
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Not good at the self-promotion.
No.
It's just, like, look at these rocks is basically the whole point.
Yep.
So yeah, I love making presentations. In fact, like I've made 2, the pyramids one, and then this Taj Tepelair one, and I'm just like, dude, I love this. I'm gonna turn into the next Randall Carlson, bro.
Good.
I'm gonna have
like, I got 4,000 slides.
I need to get a perm, grow the hair out, dude.
Yeah,
it's just the big beard and the perm, dude.
Yeah, he's got hundreds of slideshow presentations, each of which has 300 or 400 slides in it. And he's just like, what do you want to talk about? And you tell him, and it takes him 15 minutes to get the slideshow pulled up. But by the time he's got it pulled up, and then then you can talk to him for 6 hours. Yeah.
So I want to do one on the geopolymer stuff. So the last time we were in Egypt, I took all these pictures close up of rocks. Again, not me looking at rocks, but just rocks all around the Great Pyramid and the bedrock around the Great Pyramid.
Oh yeah, he's gonna do a geopolymer.
And I'm like, dude, we're gonna talk geopolymer with you people.
Geopolymer and stone softening, or just geopolymer?
Dude, honestly, I haven't gone into the stone softening. Okay. I need to do some.
Just wait till we go to Peru, too. It's when you start looking at that, you're like, well.
so I got that one on the pyramid building stuff. So I'm building on the pyramid building one. I'm gonna add the whole geopolymer discussion into that.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. There's a lot of really good points on the geopolymer that the geopolymerists will have to answer, and maybe they'll come up with a good answer. But for me, I'm like, sorry, I don't think.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got great evidence on that one, so I want to build that presentation. It'll be short. I got more on the Taj Tepelair. A couple of different avenues I can go on that whole deal. I did a mea culpa on the freaking olive trees on Katowi's podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you wrote that whole article. You just haven't published
I've written
it
an
yet.
article and I haven't published it because I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's. Maybe I'm just being too.
It's good.
Maybe I'm being too careful.
Who cares?
Yeah.
We always say we're like 99% wrong, you know. Like
Yeah, but I'm out there like trash. I'm trash talking, and then
yeah, you talk trash because they're wrong too.
I did a whole lot of research on all the controversies around Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe and all that kind of stuff, and I wrote an article. I'm still editing it. I sent it to Mark Young. I needed an archaeologist to look at it because I was saying a whole lot of stuff about archaeology. And he came back with like a massive amount of notes, and I was like, God damn it. So then I had to, yeah, he destroyed me on a couple of things. So I was like, he's totally right. So I had to go do more research. Anyway, it's close. And then I'm like, do I just want to publish this article, or do I want to make more of a presentation on this? Both, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trees, I like trash the whole tree thing.
Mm.
It's like freaking trees aren't hurting anything. Yeah, I had to back off of that one. Like, Mark kicked my ass on that one for sure. He was like, the main point was, he's just like, it doesn't matter what archaeology they're destroying. They're definitely, because I was like, well, yeah, they're in the midden.
Yeah.
But their tree roots aren't deep. Like, they're not going to go down and destroy the megalithic architecture down there.
Yeah.
Which I still think is correct.
Yeah.
But he was like, but they're in the midden.
Yeah.
So they're messing up the stratigraphy at the surface. And
Yeah.
I'm like, God dang, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no excuse
Yeah. That's
for
right.
not removing them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Had to back off of that one.
Yeah. Which is good. You live and learn.
Live and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're farmers. We're like, ain't nothing wrong with them
Yeah, I
trees.
was just like, dude, I've both planted and uprooted massive, like 70-year-old olive trees that have huge freaking trunks like this, and their roots are not deep.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mark was like, yeah, but are your soils the same as the soils on Göbekli Tepe? I'm like,
Really
well,
close.
very close. But he's like, have you done a soil analysis? And
We
it's
have
like,
done our
well,
soil.
shit. But no, the main argument was that, like, there's just, like, from an archaeological standpoint, there's just no, like, they can't deny that it's destroying archaeology because
Right.
they're in the midden.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's actually the only point that matters
Yeah.
in this discussion. It doesn't matter how deep the roots are.
And it does. Yeah. And they are destroying some archaeology, whether it's the medieval stuff or the ancient shit. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I was just like, damn. I was only thinking about the deeper stuff, like the megaliths at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're not touching those.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was totally wrong about that. Anyways. I wrote it all in an article that I'll never publish because I'll keep editing it forever.
He can't cut the umbilical.
I can't. I need a good editor that's gonna just gonna draw the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's got some great
But
research.
but what do you like we're over 2 hours now, so we need to wrap it
cares?
up. But I have one more question. Like, where do you stand on, you know, ancient lost civilization, like the mysteries or whatever? Are you more like you know, Egypt is, there's nothing mysterious? Or
No.
yeah,
No.
you're not going mainstream Kyle?
Mainstream Kyle?
Mainstream
no.
Kyle?
No, I still this is what I'm saying. Like
You're being accused of being mainstream Kyle.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
By one guy?
I mean, I'm
by
also
that
being,
one
yeah,
guy?
by one guy, but he's a supporter. He's on Patreon. He's a member of the YouTube channel, so he supports us
Okay,
in two
bro.
different places. And he's just like, WTF? You guys used to be cool.
I agree with you. We did used to be cool.
I'm not even sure I agree with that part.
I'll
We've
talk-
never
okay,
been cool.
To this guy, first of all, thank you for being a supporter.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I have learned so much through this process of doing this podcast. And it was like when we first got on here, we were looking at stuff on the internet and mostly talking to each other and developing all these like crazy possible ideas that what if it was this as opposed to what everybody else thinks? And it was just amazing conversations that were so much fun to have, like thinking about all these mysteries. And that's the stuff we were talking about all the time in the early days. And then when we finally started going to these places, all of our ideas practically collapsed. Like we saw things that were like, it wasn't an archaeologist telling us, oh, well, actually, no, it was that we looked at these structures and from a construction standpoint, we were like, okay, nope, it wasn't done that way that we had thought about. It wasn't done this way that we had thought about. This idea that we were thinking about is destroyed.
Yeah.
So it destroyed all of our ideas, which was amazing. And then we started developing new ones. And it's like that process has been continuing and continuing. So yeah, like I've totally changed my ideas on how all of this stuff took place. And, you know, the more research we do, it's like I can't help it. Like I see certain things, and like I dove into the Taj Tepelair stuff, reading all these papers, and I think they've done amazing work compared to some of these things that I see in Egypt. I sort of compare Turkey with Egypt, and I see this new, like these teams working over in Turkey, multiple different teams from all these different places, all working on the Taj Tepelair from different perspectives. And the body of work coming out of there to me is like, I wish that was happening in Egypt.
Yeah.
So I came to the Taj Tepelair thing like, this is amazing. Like this work is great. So then when I see all like the negativity about it online, I'm just like, what? Like these guys are doing good stuff. So like I am on their side. Now, I agree, nothing is perfect. It has been mismanaged in some ways. Mea culpa on the olive trees. You know, yeah, there's problems or whatever, but I bet you everyone would be extremely happy if the type of work that the type of system that they have going on right now in Turkey is sort of the Wild West, like all these archeological teams
and it's
coming,
a brand
uncovering
new civilization. And
yeah, it's incredible.
Like,
so
holy shit, we know nothing about.
So I'm
these
super
people.
excited about it, and maybe a little bit blindsided to some of the negative aspects because I'm really excited about the research. But I don't agree with their conclusions.
Yeah,
because I'm like, this is what my whole thing is. Like what I'm going on right now on this civilization is like, I don't think that they're really considering all the possibilities of this civilization. So no, I don't necessarily agree with all their conclusions, but I do think that they're doing pretty good work along with mistakes. Both of us were like super excited to see the Scan Pyramids project start in Egypt. That was awesome. It's still ongoing. That team is doing a lot of work over there. That's great. Like, have they made mistakes? Probably. Did they put some like instruments on some priceless artifacts and, you know, in these pyramids? I mean, yeah.
yeah.
I just, you know, it's like at some point it's like, yeah, things get destroyed.
Yeah, they ran a lot of wires down there. They had to do like conduit and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I hate to see destruction of some of these amazing monuments. And I mean, we've criticized like they're trying to rebuild the casing stones on the side of the pyramid.
The rebuilding efforts
like,
on the plateau are incredibly annoying.
It's terrible.
Like what they've done to the basalt pavement is terrible.
Terrible. It's horrible. So we don't like to see that. And so I agree that like, yeah, there's just some bad stuff. But so at the same time, we're involved with the Artifact Foundation now. And like, yeah, I don't want to be talking mad trash about some museum curator.
Yeah.
Which I don't even have any reason to do. But my point is like, I'm being accused of like taking their side so that I can get on the inside and like hide data and become part of the freaking evil conspiracy.
That's exactly what we're doing, actually.
No, we're
totally getting on the inside so we can keep all the secrets that have been being kept for thousands of years. That was the entire point of this podcast. We spouted like conspiracy theories for 6 years so that we could get on the inside. So they'd be like, guys, listen,
you have been accused
this
of
is
that.
what is really going on. And we're like, oh, thank you. And they're like, you can never tell them. We're like, don't worry. We're going to go back on the podcast and be like, you know what? The archaeologists have been right this entire time.
Now that you all trust us.
Now that you trust it, yeah, like
They're totally right.
UFOs are fake. Bigfoot doesn't exist. The pyramids were built by the dynastics. They made the vases like this. It's totally all explained. Yeah, come on.
I'm not.
That
So
is not happening.
here's another thing. I don't want to be just talking mad shit about people that I've never met and don't know. Like, yeah, we've done that plenty on the show.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Still talk about
we
that
talk
guy.
we talk shit about Zahi.
And now Matt Bell is working with him to like scan the big void to get into the big
Oh
void.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. I mean, if it happens,
That would be great.
Yeah.
So you have this is my point, like to push this stuff forward, to learn more. I mean, yeah, we got to build relationships here. So like right now it's with museum curators and so far they've been great.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they have us sign a document that's like, let us have first right of refusal of some publication, then like, okay, well, can we still scan the vases? Like, yeah, let's get in there and scan them. And then hopefully the work is good enough and robust enough that when they see the paper, they're going to be like, great.
Yeah.
Or if they don't like something, like take this name out, or please don't say that, or whatever. I don't know. What would they say? I just can't even imagine. Like, I think they just want to make sure that we're not assholes.
Yeah. And that you're respectful. Like that's kind of what happened in the Petrie. Once they figured out like you guys were serious and you were also not like, completely retarded with the stuff. They were like, okay, yeah, you can have more, because at first it was like 2 people only, and eventually they let in more people. And
yeah. So to the guy, the supporter, I don't know your name. I'm sorry, but like,
Chase something.
Chase.
Yeah. Chase.
Like, I don't know what
I've
else
been
to tell
seeing
you.
your messages, bro. I don't know what to tell you either. I all I can say is thanks for supporting us, and
Yeah.
we're not mainstream, but we are trying to do real work, and it does require us working with mainstream people.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, I'll still
Aliens still built it all, though. That's all I can tell you.
I still operate off the same principle, which is like, we don't know everything, and most of what we think is probably wrong.
Absolutely.
And we're like, whatever theories we have, we try to look for evidence that
They
disproves
are wrong.
them.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what else to do. So giving it my best shot, oh boy.
Yeah.
Stick with us.
Thanks for the support.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Sorry I pissed you off.
Yeah, I wish you weren't so angry. I don't know what to do about it. Well, should we wrap it up? And also, all you guys have been commenting on this in the chat. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I mean, like,
Yeah,
we're trying to do, we're trying to follow our passions here, and we're trying to do it in good faith. We are doing it in good faith. It's really about like, can we figure out what's really going on? I'm not interested in supporting some preconceived idea. I want to know what really happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And dude, some of the things that I really thought were the coolest ideas that I'm just like, I just don't think it happened based on the stuff that we've seen on the ground over there.
yeah.
In these places. But there's always something new. Like, I never expected this vase scan project to be what it is. And it's just like, wow, this is opening up.
Yeah, it's amazing that we're a part of it.
Yeah. And I think the first bit of analysis that came out was maybe a little bit over the top. And then I think what's going on now is far more down to earth, but also creating new pathways of like, wow, we need to look at these things too. We need to look at this. It's incredible just trying to follow the evidence.
Yeah.
What it is. And now with everything going on over in the Taj Tepelera, there's just this whole other freaking avenue of mysteries over there that I'm just fascinated with. So it's been awesome. Hopefully we can get over there.
You don't believe in the sacred geometry of the vases and the pyramids? What's your angle here, man?
51.2 degrees? Wait, is that wrong?
What lengths are you going to go to deny the sacred geometry? When are you going to circle back?
3.14159 inches.
Yeah. How can you
Dude,
square this position with what you used to say in the past?
All I'm saying is
Trying to make some geometry puns here.
they're great.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just had all these going through my head the whole time. I'm like, I got to do this.
You got me cornered.
Yeah, just listen. You've done a whole 180. It's a complete tangent from where you were before.
All I had was cornered. Sorry.
Yeah, the corner is fine. It's just... we need to wrap it up.
I'm just trying to find the right angle.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. What angle?
Did you say that already?
What is your angle here, man? What length are you going to go to?
Yeah. I think the geometry speaking of the geometric analysis on the vases, I just don't I'm skeptical about
it. It needs to be done. It needs to continue to happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical about the what is it? The
some of the conclusions that have been come to before.
yeah, I know.
Radial
there's a
traversal
radial
pattern.
traversal pattern, just because of applying these forms to the vase. Because I was doing the same thing in Blender, and it's like it's not clear.
Yeah.
Like I remember all that work I did in Blender
Yes,
with the
I
vase,
remember. Yeah.
slicing it,
Mm-hmm.
getting it, and trying to put these perfect circles on all this stuff. And it was like, well, if I turn the vase a little bit, now that perfect circle isn't right. I have to shift it and everything. So it just, and I had the same issue with the first analysis that came out with like the conic section added and how many points did it add, and then the flat plane on the top. I did those same things, and I was just like, when I put the conic section on it and I zoomed in, I'm like, there is no flat.
There's no flat. Yeah.
There's no straight line here. I don't know how a conic section even applies to this part of the vase. So I had reservations on that analysis, but I was like, who am I? These guys are like metrologists and stuff. I don't know what I'm.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you the problems I ran into on Blender, and I just was like, well, I don't really know how this is done anyway, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like now, after learning from Katawi, I think that there's validity to that. Like that the analysis perhaps has not been done correctly yet.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But it's freaking cool, dude.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And hopefully, I mean, they've already, I'm pretty sure they already written the paper, the first paper.
Good.
So they are going for peer review. Guy that is mad. I'm
Yeah.
like, but in a metrology journal, right? Like this is what we want. We want other metrologists to be like, yes, that's how you measure
This is
something.
good work. Yeah, exactly.
Without that, it doesn't have legs. Like we need that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Not peer review in an archaeology journal.
Right. Let's wrap it up.
Buzzkill talking about geometry. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Carolina girl can't handle it. Too much
Cool.
numbers. Well, we're done. We wrap it up.
All right. Fine.
Yeah.
It's like once we do all the work to get in here, I'm just like, let's go. Okay.
Yeah. We're already talking about shorter form stuff, but Kyle's like, come on, we can do 4.5 hours.
Yeah. Well, we create a new channel called Short Form.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all of you.
Yep.
Like going on this journey with us. And, many of you have been here since we were just two dudes in a cube. And now we're two dudes in a cube who get to go to Egypt and stuff. So it's like, it's amazing. And we're involved in these, in these investigations, as well as doing the tours and traveling around. So it's really cool. We will continue to adjust our worldview and grow our appreciation and understanding, if we can, of these ancient sites, because that's what it's about. I'm still interested in what the hell is going on in the ancient past.
Absolutely.
That's what all of this investigation is about. I'm also interested in like, the missing 401 stuff, the UFO things, like other anomalous things, but like this is really our main area of investigation. The other stuff I don't really have a way to investigate other than to look at other people's investigations. So this is what we're doing. And I appreciate you guys all supporting us in this and hope to see you guys all on a trip someday in the future. The Peru one's going to be amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait to do that one. So hopefully in the future, there will be a Peru trip and an Egypt trip every year. So until we can't do it anymore, which might be soon based on how difficult it was to hike in Peru. But yeah, I hope to see you guys on some of that stuff in the future and meetups when we can do them. And yeah, thank you all for supporting the show and watching.
Yeah. Jennifer Sorensen, thank you so much for the generous donation, executive producer donation. Big thanks to Jeff Walker. Also Laura Kotu, as usual. Thank you so much. We really appreciate all of you and your donations. If you want to support all this crazy madness, donate to the Pyramid Scheme.
Yep.
PayPal or Patreon.
Yep.
You can join the Patreon. Really appreciate it. It helps us. It's funded multiple research trips. This one we did in New York, this one we did in the UK. They were out-of-pocket expenses, so we really appreciate that. That's the reason we were able to do this. So
and
really
Peru, like I paid for the entire scouting trip into Peru from the podcast bank account, which is like you guys. So thank
and
you
so many
much.
people donate like really small donations. It doesn't matter. It adds up. We really appreciate
it all
that.
Helps.
Huge thanks to Adam Young from the Artifact Foundation for and his wife for hosting us for the week we were in New York, and Kato Ipoka, Ben Van Kerkwick.
Yep.
We love you guys. And all of you out there, thank you very much.
Yep.
We love you.
Always have.
Always will.
Good night, Adamu.
Get back to work.